Once again, today's top stories. London has endured another night of German bombing. Most damage was concentrated in the East End. The RAF has struck enemy aerodromes in Le Havre and the Low Countries. In Russia, further German losses are reported around Leningrad. In Asia, the American fortress at Corregidor is still defiant, but Japanese forces are reported nearing the Burmese oil fields. And that concludes the news summary. We now return you to our music program. Once again, today's top stories. London has endured another night of German bombing. Most damage was concentrated in the East End. The RAF has struck enemy aerodromes in Le Havre and the Low Countries. In Russia, further German losses are reported around Leningrad. In Asia, the American fortress at Corregidor is still defiant, but Japanese forces are reported nearing the Burmese oil fields. And that concludes the news summary. We now return you to our music program.
See here, this isn't about your dedication. Pringle certainly attests to your loyalty. No, your dismissal stems from the Titanic mission. That failure can no longer be ignored, especially now. I am sorry, but someone must shoulder the blame. The service, you understand. We can't be held responsible.
Most damage was concentrated in the East End. The RAF has struck enemy aerodromes in Le Havre and the Low Countries. In Russia, further German losses are reported around Leningrad. In Asia, the American fortress at Corregidor is still defiant, but Japanese forces are reported nearing the Burmese oil fields. And that concludes the news summary. We now return you to our music program.
The past, forever locked in regret. But what if the past could be changed? "30 years have come and gone since the night that saw the end of a world, my world. The service needed someone on the Titanic. They chose me. I was to wait for a signal from my contact, so I remained in my cabin. I left only once. Georgia was on board. And that's when it came. There'd be no second chance. It was Sunday. April 14th. Too late, you see, for the Titanic, for me. What if I'd met with my contact, prevented disaster? What if the past could be changed? What then?
Good evening. I am Smethels, your steward, and, if I may say so, it is good to see you up and about. You've been in your cabin the whole voyage. A touch of the mal de mer, was it? Seasickness can be quite unpleasant, especially if it's one's first crossing. Since you haven't been out of your cabin, may I instruct you on how to get assistance while on board the Titanic? Very well. Your correspondence. 2,200 on board, and they all want messages delivered promptly. Even if it is 1912, and the Titanic, the most advanced means of sea conveyance ever devised, I still have only two hands. Here, a map of the ship for you. Compliments of the White Star Line. I have taken the liberty of indicating your cabin, C-73. Of course, on a Sunday evening at this hour, there won't be many people out. Will there be anything else? A young lady. A most insistent young lady. The electric camel, an exercise device. They say it is good for the liver. I wouldn't know. It's located in the gymnasium, on the boat deck, on the starboard side. That's the right side, in case you had not been informed. Very good. Have you unpacked? You'll find your trunk key in your bag on the bed. And remember your personal effects, your watch, and if you require additional assistance, please ring the bell by the door. Good night.
Majesty's government has assigned an agent of the Crown to rendezvous with you on board the Titanic. Remain in your cabin until your contact gives you further instructions. After completion of all your assignments on board, book passage to remain on the ship and return to Southampton for your next assignment. For a more in-depth report of the international situation in the spring of 1912, please review the white paper included as part of this briefing. That is all. His Majesty's government has assigned an agent of the...
Evening, I'm the lift attendant, and you'll not find one better at taking you where you want to go. Where to? Righty, I know every nook and cranny. It's the gymnasium you're after. Take my lift to A deck, then walk up the stairs. Enter the vestibule at the left. The gymnasium's on your immediate right. May I take you somewhere? Mind the gate. Did you attend the party last night on day deck? Seen the Lady Georgia did? Noticed those diamonds round her neck? A bloke would be set up with those, and her. Pity she's unhappy. Her husband always arguing with her, like just now. Almost there.
Hello. Don't think we've met. I'm Leyland Sachem Trask, metaphysical scribe and evangelist for the supernatural. I've been in London attending a conference on premonitions among the sensitive. Sensitives, or psychics, possess increased powers of perception. A gifted psychic can take a personal effect from a complete stranger and tell you all about them. Good night.
Glory be. It's about time. You're late. Another 5 minutes and I'd have cancelled your mission. Look at this. A German colonel named Zeitel. He's inspecting their embassies in Havana, Washington, and Mexico City. We know better. "10 days ago, the Bureau got word that Zeitel has in his possession a priceless copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, stolen 2 months ago in Paris after its purchase by a very highly placed member of His Majesty's government. The Rubaiyat's a book, a collection of medieval Persian poetry, a passion of his lordship's. Poetry. Persians. The German High Command must think it's important enough to have their top man smuggle the lot on board. It's your job to find out. His lordship's watching this very closely. Very closely indeed. I wouldn't fumble this chance either, unless you fancy spending the rest of your career in some grotty Midlands back office shuffling paper about. Have you seen the report? In your trunk? On the international situation? I'd jolly well read it if I were you. No. He's with a protégé. Name of Heidelitz, I believe. The two spend a great deal of time in the Café Parisien. Nibbling pastries. Get into the wireless room. I don't know or care how. Officer Morrow wouldn't let me in. See if Zeitel's received or sent any telegrams about the Rubai. You've got a cryptograph in your trunk. It'll unscramble the German codes. You use the brains God gave you. Watch people. Listen when you find the Rubaiyat. Knock on my door. Cabin F, 34. Use the second-class stairs. You should be set. Remember, this is your big chance. Don't fail.
You came after all this time. It's Georgia. I'd heard you on board. Where have you been? It's been 5 years. I'd have waited a lot longer to see you again. Why didn't you tell me where you'd gone? Dina hadn't a clue, nor did Jack. My letters were returned. Just like you to show up now, with everything such a beastly mess. You must help me. A penny for your thoughts. You've no doubt heard the rumors. I won't deny most of them. I can't. Even if the money's gone, I won't give the diamonds to Charles. These are all that remains. My insurance for a new life without Charles or Saoirse. My husband. You hadn't heard of my marriage to Lord Lambeth? You told me once I cared only for a title. Well, I've got that now, and it's not worth a penny. The money's almost gone. Charles' bad investment. This is all that remains. And I must keep it away from... Please. I mustn't talk any longer. Keep it for me. And don't tell Charles you have it. You can't know what he's like.
Come here. Don't you love the sea air? Really clears out the sinuses. Max Seidelman, Philadelphia, PA. Buyer for Haymaker's department store. The Sharpie of Spruce Street, they call me. You a sporting type? You look like the sporting type. Come on down to the smoking room for a nightcap. Riviera's looking for someone to play a few hands of blackjack with. What do you say? Not much else to do. Not tonight. Brr. Cold as a cast iron commode. So, what do you say? Great. First, let's swing by the Parisian Cafe. There's a man there named Zeidel, a German. Claims he's a business, but he's got something up the sleeve, all right. I know the type, believe me. Dollars to donuts, he's in some racket. So come with, why don't you? We'll hit the smoking room from there. Hey, Colonel, how you doing? Willie? Like you to meet
A pleasure. Heidelitz and I, we welcome diversion during such an uneventful passage, don't we?
Certainly.
Willie is at the University of Vienna, dissecting children's fable.
Cultural mythology, it's quite interesting. So only a junior professor, I tried to interest Dr. Freud. He's a genius, and I...
Yes, I am sure, quite. On the passenger list it says you embarked at Cherbourg, yet I have not seen you with the others. You were there, were you not? I see. You are British. Not so many of you in Titanic's first cabins. These days, most of the rich are Americans. Businessmen like Max. Tell me, why do you go to New York? Business. How interesting, considering the British are not so good at it. Me? Inspecting our embassies. Imperial Germany desires to make a good impression in North America. Willie is continuing on, to the west, to conduct research on Aboriginal custom.
The Indians, they are fascinating.
Yes. However, I place faith in science, not super...
The Colonel was saying this wireless stuff's revolutionizing sending messages to each other. It's the end of books and newspapers.
Like the Titanic, a technological triumph. Here we dined in comfort while racing along at 20 knots. It's still tied to the outside world by the wireless.
That reminds me, Colonel Seidel, when I go to send you a telegram, they told me it was to be there are too many messages. The passengers...
I am sure our guests do not care to hear a detailed discussion of your encounter with telegraphy. Now, if you will excuse me...
Please, excuse us.
Won't you call on us tomorrow? Here, in the cafe. The Linzer Tort's quite passable for a British ship. Stop by. Willie and I welcome it most heartily.
Yes, most heartily.
And before I leave, you must allow me to give you some advice. But do not wander the ship. It is not good, I think, on a ship as big as the Titanic. Good night, friends.
Good night.
See? What did I tell you? What did I say? Them too. Up to something, I'd say. The brainy kid gives me the creeps. What a grind. He should hang out with that little blonde. She's a looker, I tell you. Come on, let's hit the smoking room. I'll introduce you to Riviera. What do you say? Great. Go on up. I gotta see a man about a horse. I'll meet you in a few. Goodbye.
Daisy Cashmore, surely you remember. Oh, you a naughty thing. Don't think I didn't know you'd snuck on at Cherbourg. Smethels told me all about it. The old boy's always dripping with news. Heard about Lord and Lady Lambeth. Ruined utterly. Scarcely enough left for appearances, I'm told. I always liked Georgia. Married Charles for his name and his fortune, sensible girl. But she's made her nest. Now she must live in it. Well... Yoo-hoo! What do we think? Gorgeous, isn't it? Everyone's raving, gushing. The Titanic couldn't be more fabulous. And the sailing couldn't have been more convenient. Everyone's here. The Astors, the George Wideners, the Countess of Ross, such a wonderful girl. The Strausses, I saw them on D-deck tonight. The Ryersons, the Henry Harpers. I could just go on and on. And the ship's so very advanced. I was just saying to my dear friends, the Carters, they're bringing back a motor car, do you believe, in the cargo hold. Bill Carter checks it daily. Really, every day. He keeps the keys with the purser. And of course they let them. The Carters are fantastically rich. Lucille doesn't understand the attraction at all. With men and machines, I tell her, we girls play second fiddle. Well... My dear, I've a little favor. A tiny, tiny, tiny one. Tonight at dinner, a man I don't know was making eyes at me. Be an absolute darling and find out who he is. Look him up in the passenger list. All I know are his initials, GQC. The list's someplace. Find it. I'll wait right here. Ta!
I don't know you, nor do I want to. Leave me or I shall summon a steward. Tell me, do you approve of women who smoke? You're witty. Most men take their indulgences one at a time. Combine them, like women with tobacco, and they pitch fits. Pity. Andrew and I wintered in Cairo. We returned via Paris, where we ran into all sorts of people, including that charming German Colonel Zeitel. He had a great interest in rare books. It will be wonderful to be home. No dust storms, no lepers. Mr. Trask predicts a banner year for me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Trask? A brilliant seer. Brilliant! I consult him about business decisions, and he's never steered me wrong. He instructs me to travel on only 2 ships, the Titanic and the Lusitania. I must stop our chat here. I've other concerns. My maid, she's left us. Yes, well, good night.
Let me introduce you to Buick Riviera. Remember, he's French, and you know what they... Come here.
Good evening, mon ami. Buick Riviera welcomes you to the tables. I am always delighted to play with friends of Max. You look familiar. We make a meeting before? Deauville? The casino at Monaco? New Mexico. I lived there once. In Diamondback. Such a town. So, have we met? C'est vrai. Then we shall use my special cards.
Good luck. You'll need it.
Try your luck. You are the winner. Magnifique. Again? Merde. A draw. Another hand, mon ami? Bonne chance, mon ami. Good night.
How you doing? You look fleeced, you too? You know, you're letting me do all the talking. If you don't mind me asking, just why are you headed to New York? Guess we all got our secrets, don't we? See you around. Good night. Can't talk now. Catch you later.
Yes, can I help you? As purser, I arrange dinner reservations, rent deck chairs, the usual shipboard duties. Five? Who are you, anyway? I haven't seen you about. And I've the passenger list. We've already had trouble with one lady in second who's tried crashing first class. Have you a name? If you do, I can tell you their cabin number. Let me check. Aha, Mr. George Quincy Clifford, A27. Certainly not. The manifest is the purser's. Only I look at the manifest. Deck games are usually reserved for daylight hours. I live to serve. I live to serve. I live to, 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 I live to serve. That's all then, is it? Good night.
Did you get it? Get his name? Clifford. Clifford. Never heard of him. You don't suppose he's rich, do you? You're an angel. And I've news for you, too. While you were gone, Andrew Conkling's been asking for you. Yes, Conkling, the steel bear. God knows what he's been doing in Europe. Buying it, probably. Where was I? Oh, yes. Andrew Conkling asked me to pass along this. You know his wife Beatrix, the designer. Such an eye! Her clothes preserve the bust line. Couldn't be more flattering. Keeps the eye moving. Much nicer than Worth's. They're friends with Captain Smith. Smith! So handsome, so dashing. White Star's best officer, or was. He's retiring after this voyage. Couldn't be more tragic. My dear, you've blanched. Bad news? Certainly, certainly, I must... It's Mrs. Burbank! Consuelo!
Charles received a telegram from the solicitors. Our estate's to be sold off. He asked about the necklace I gave you. I told him I left it with a purser. Don't say anything to him or Sasha. Not him and his group of... Oh, there's much more to tell you. Can you meet me in my stateroom? I'm in B70. It's Charles' custom to go for a drink in the smoking room. When he does, visit me.
I say, what's your step?
Are you hurt, Henry?
No harm done. No harm.
I'm so sorry.
Trot on my toe.
We're the Goss Joneses from Haltwhistle, you know. How are you finding the crossing? You're English, then? I would have thought American. Oh, my. I didn't mean to insult...
Can't hold a thought.
Dreadfully large place, America.
Brain like as if...
All that space and all those immigrants trying to fill it up. I was just commenting to Henry, on a White Star crossing one meets all the right people. While we were just chatting with a delightful elderly couple in the reception. The Strausses.
Own a small dry goods store in New York somewhere. Called Macy's.
On D-Day.
Ribena, must you always finish my sentences? You're as jumpy as that American chap, that photographer.
Yes, he was just snapping away.
Taking pictures of some German colonel and that Englishman.
Snap, snap, snap.
War's coming, all right. Mark my words.
War? How beastly. Will Mr. Burns have to fight? He and his wife, such sweet things. But I do see her point. It is their honeymoon. Why he insists on snapping those photos, I haven't a clue.
For God's sake, woman, talk, like a madam in a Rangoon bawdy house.
Henry, that's unspeakable.
So don't speak, then. Yaps louder than a scrum of rabid corgis. Now see here, this Burns chap.
If you want to see something interesting, take a look at his pictures. He's on C deck, cabin C, 78.
Hello. In need of psychic consultation? You know, a medium told me the only danger in my life had come on water. Salt or fresh, he did not say. Damn it all, I wish they'd be more specific. That pipe's been someplace quite humid recently. I'd visit the Turkish bath. Good luck. This is a ship of destiny, which I think you know. These, my friend, will surprise you, mark my words. Good night.
wasn't sure you'd come. Andrew Conkling? He's loaned money to Charles. A lot of it, I think. First, I want to know how you fared these last years. Rather well from the looks of you. I'm glad to see you. You're the only person I can trust. Please promise me you'll help. You always were there when I needed you. Now, with my life a horrible mess. When Charles discovered my affair with Sasha, he was quite calm. But I know him, you see. His revenge is taking the necklace, leaving me with nothing. And so I'd never trust him again. Don't you see? They're looking for guns, for bombs. At a party last June, Sasha was quite passionate. A Slavic trait, I'm told. His mother came from Belgium. I fell in love. We used to meet at his gallery, but we were never alone. They'd come at all hours. Sasha's friends. His gallery was their London base. They were rough men, foreign. Sasha told me they were part of a Balkan aid society. Stupid girl that I was, I believed him. But then I found out. These people, they... Charles!
Please, Georgia, continue. Was it my title or my income you found so desirable? I was never sure. Now that both assets are depleted, why don't you go to Sasha? Maybe he can help, as he's done before.
Ignore him. I see the smoking room's had its usual effect.
Idle gossip, apparently.
You see his attitude? Please, go.
Since she obviously can't depend on me. Here, take the chill out of the air. Thank you for seeing after my wife. Now I think it best you leave the happy couple, drowning in their happiness. Good night.
Remember, I need your help.
May I be of assistance? The purser. His office is on C deck, just off the forward grand stairs. The elevator, or lift as we call it, has an attendant who can direct you to various sections of the lifts are located behind the forward grand staircase. Miss Pringle may have an idea. She is quite opinionated. Her room is F34, that's F deck, in the second class. Miss Pringle may have an idea. She is quite opinionated. Her room is F34, that's F deck, in the second class. Miss Pringle may have an idea. She is quite opinionated. Her room is F34, that's F deck, in the second class. Good night.
Evening. Where to? Mind the gate. It's a cold night, this. Pretty much everyone's early to bed. Makes me job that much easier. Your deck now.
A fine night to be indoors, cold as the dickens outside. Cold but clear. Clear as a bell, and the stars, oh, you should see 1,000,000 stars in God's firmament. A congregation of light. The name's Trout. The Reverend Edgar. I'm returning from a mission in Africa, to Sunapee, New Hampshire, where I live. Emily, my wife, she's dead. Thank you. We had looked forward to this journey. But she died at Port Said, though it was Nyasaland that killed her. The doctors, you know, never did find all the parasites. Calling on Miss Pringle, she has been invaluable this voyage, a pillar. Oh yes, we're very glad she's with us. They say you met Trask. Be wary of him. Trask's a trickster. Take this card, a prayer card, from my own collection. So you must like it, this section of the Titanic. Here, second class. You can get to Scotland Road from here. Do you know it? Scotland Road? Scotland Road runs the length of the ship, from stern to bow on Eden. It allows the crew to get from one side to the other quickly. I could go to third class if I take the Scotland Road, but I don't believe in social mixing. No, it creates too much anxiety. A place for everyone, and everyone a place. Though some don't choose to see it that way. In the course of my ministrations, I've observed a gentleman from first class, a young German, among the steerage women. Most unnatural. I haven't said anything. I wouldn't want to upset the ladies, especially Miss Pringle. She seems a fragile vessel. Behind me, through those doors. Wait. Before you leave, I was wondering, perhaps you'd care to make a donation to our mission in Nyasaland. Sorry to have bothered you. Perhaps another time. Good evening.
Try to intercept Zeitel's telegrams. Get inside the one. Surely someone on board knows what he's up to. And don't forget the cryptograph in your trunk. It will unscramble the German codes. Most importantly, find the Rubaiyat. Meanwhile, I'll conduct my own investigation. Off with you now. Go!
Passengers aren't allowed in the engine. Step aside before I call a fireman to chuck you out. Passengers aren't allowed in the engine. Step aside before I call a fireman to chuck you out. Passengers aren't allowed in the engine. Step aside before I call a fireman to chuck you out. Passengers aren't allowed in the engine. Step aside before I call a fireman to chuck you out.
Hello, I'm Conkling. Good of you to come. I trust you're finding the accommodation satisfactory? You're welcome. White Star's anxious for everyone to be as comfortable as possible, particularly on the maiden voyage. Sorry to seem mysterious. You must understand, someone in my position, an investor in this ship, needs discretion. You're under no obligation, of course. I have a slight problem. You may be able to help. A servant has stolen an important business document from me, and I must recover it. A few years ago, my wife Beatrix hired a young Irish girl as maid in our London house. We treated her well. 2 weeks ago, she up and left without notice, taking a certain letter with her. I'd given up all hope of recovering it, until my wife spotted her this morning on the third-class promenade. Needless to say, I checked with the purser. She'd been scheduled to sail on the Philadelphia, but those passengers were transferred on board the Titanic because of a coal strike. Yes, you could say so. I'd prefer to employ the services of a third party. You. Government officials, friends of mine, told me a bureau agent was on board. I found you through Mrs. Cashmore, a preposterous woman, but she does have an eye for accomplishment. Look, will you help me? You will be rewarded handsomely. Her name is Shayla Hacker. She's 20 or thereabouts. I was her benefactor, one might say. Yes. This puts me in a, difficult situation. This young woman, she could cause considerable damage to me, to my reputation, if she goes to the newspapers. Yes. This puts me in a, difficult situation. This young woman, she could cause considerable damage to me, to my reputation, if she goes to the newspaper. I've gotten word to her to meet on the poop deck. Go in my place. Tell her there'll be no trouble if she returns the letter. Afterwards, report to me in our suite, B59. Her name is Shayla Hacker. Good night.
ride with someone. It's Mrs. Casebeer. Who does she think she is? I hear she bribed the purser to upgrade her rooms to first class. What a social climber. Is that Archie Gracie? Archie? My dear, I simply must run. Lovely chatting with you. Goodbye.
Step lively. Where to? Mind the gate. Did you attend a party last night on day deck? Seen the Lady Georgia did? Noticed those diamonds round her neck? A bloke could be set up with those, and her. Pity she's unhappy. Her husband always arguing with her, like just now. She's on the poop deck. As far away from that husband of hers as you can get. Almost there.
Hello. In need of psychic consultation? The Reverend Trout's ministrations. He thinks I'm the devil incarnate. This will make someone a welcome gift, I sense. Good night.
No more talking.
Tell me, do you approve of women who smoke? You're witty. Most men take their indulgences one at a time. Combine them, like women with tobacco, and they pitch fits. Pity. Andrew and I wintered in Cairo. We returned via Paris, where we ran into all sorts of people, including that charming German Colonel Zeitel. He had a great interest in rare books. It will be wonderful to be home. No dust storms, no lepers. Mr. Trask predicts a banner year for me. Trask? A brilliant seer. Brilliant! I consult him about business decisions, and he's never steered me wrong. He instructs me to travel on only 2 ships, the Titanic and the Lusitania. I must stop our chat here. I've other concerns. My maid, she's left us. Yes, well, good night.
Hello. Georgia, afraid of me? Well, that would be a reaction at least. We no longer evoke emotion in each other. We're a husband and wife in name only. You may have heard I am in financial strait. I've borrowed money from Andrew Conkling, money that he is now demanding I pay back. I've none to give. Poverty should remain the domain of the virtuous. I've no taste for it. To tell you. No, I shall fix things first. And without Georgia. Another drink? Another whiskey for, Hope you don't mind if I do. Now, you, want to know some secrets. Thank you, bartender. I'll tell you one. George's diamond necklace. It's a fake. The one on her neck, leastways. I gave the real necklace to Sasha. It's in his cabin for safekeeping. When he gets to New York, he'll sell it, quickly and quietly, for 20% commission. I'll pay off my debts to Conkling, put Georgia away, sail back to England free and clear. She's unstable, as you know, so I'm placing her in a sanatorium. An easy thing to do, given her emotional history. The law favors the husband in these matters. She can do nothing about it. God forbid the suffragettes really do win women the vote. They'll never know their place again. She's unstable, as you know, so I'm placing her in a sanatorium. An easy thing to do, given her emotional history. The law favors the husband in these matters. She can do nothing about it. God forbid the suffragettes really do win women the vote. They'll never know their place again. I beg your pardon, you've something to say? Because I threatened to tell Scotland Yard about his Serbian Aid Society, and because Sasha's a greedy bastard, he'd betray his love for 20%. And Georgia thinks she's outsmarted. No, she's got a fake about her neck and doesn't know. Another? Good night, then. You'll sleep well. The whiskey and the sea are both smooth for a change.